why you had to move.
Okay, so the Denaro Victoria Court, where we are now, it's a product of thinking, of innovation, crafted by Denaro Properties Limited, and we built it purposefully to show people what we can do, especially the interiors. We did a lot of things that normally you won't find in a normal office setting. So, but it's part of our marketing strategy for customers to come in and see that this is what we can do. And we've been building houses for people over the years. We've been doing a lot of construction. So the board just decided that it's high time that we also do something good for ourselves, especially in Ikeja here. So, and that's what brought about this project where we are now, and we're launching tomorrow. That's the 1st of June 2024. So we thank God. It's been a very, although some people may say it's slow, but for us it's slow and steady. Like I was telling Sunday yesterday, it's not about competition for us. We have our own strategy. We're running our own race. We're not competing with anybody. We compete with ourselves. We benchmark with the best globally, and that's where we find ourselves presently. We give all the glory to God.
So the company, why is it called
Yes, so the company is using all these floors. The other buildings in front and the side we use for other purposes, but the administrative setup is in this 4-bedroom fully detached duplex. And we're going to have engineering team, the design team, they have their various offices, the finance and the accounting team, the legal team, they have their own offices. We have meeting rooms, and we have recreation area where staff can go and unwind. For example, you have the Cup of Nations, you have World Cup happening. We have a place that's been set up for that. So, and then this is a much more serene and ambient environment where creative thinking can happen. So, we are very deliberate about the setup.
And tell us a bit about how you feel that you've been able to put this in place.
In place. Well, we feel very good. It's been a lot of people feel like we should have done this long ago because we've vetted many landlords, many homeowners. So and we've built so many for people, and it's not as if we've done a structure for ourselves. Where we're just using was normally very little and no structure. And we could have built something new, but we just waited, bided our time, and at the right time we did this. We feel very good about it. We're happy, and it's a better motivation for our workers and people that are with us, and even for customers. It brings stronger confidence because they see that they've known us for years, even while we're in Omole in that small space. But here we've come to a bigger space now, and so they can see that progression that these guys are going somewhere. They know what they are doing. So it brings confidence, it brings motivation, it brings joy to everyone who is associated with the Denaro branch. And we give glory to God.
How have you been running it now?
Well, running Denaro, like I just finished a meeting with someone about 1 hour ago, and I was telling them that the real estate industry is not for the faint-hearted. The challenges, can be quite enormous. Sometimes my colleagues will ask me, "Okay, how do you sleep at night?" Because as you are sitting here, people are calling you different sites, reporting different, especially within the past 5 years, that the insecurity situation in Nigeria has increased, lawlessness has increased. So you see that things, people take laws into their own hands, and things have become more challenging. So it's not a small task. It's been challenging, but one thing that has been working for us is the grace and the favor of God. In everything we do, we still see that favor of God. We still see that grace of God that sustains us even when we face challenges. We don't face challenges that can consume us. A lot of companies go through challenges and they don't recover. So we've never faced such. And because we don't do more than ourselves, and we don't we manage, we know how to manage ourselves, manage our resources, and that has been so helpful. You'll be tempted by the time you see what your colleagues are doing. A lot of times you'll be tempted maybe the funds you need to still do some one or two projects. You may be tempted to say, okay, you want to give to all your, you want to start maybe doling out cars, to who doesn't even need it, and doing things that are not really necessary, that will not contribute to the growth of the company. So self-awareness, very important. It's been challenging, but we're pulling through. We're doing well. We thank God for everything.
At the time you took off, what was the attraction, and why did you decide to go into that area?
Okay, so I came from a family of entrepreneurs. My mother was an entrepreneur, even though she was in textile. But while I was small, I've been following her to the market to see, what she does. My elder brother, who also happens to be the chairman of the company today, Femi Ogunleye, we've been together. So he has seen that trajectory. He is more of the technocrat. He's into IT. He's an IT director. So he is more of a technocrat, while I had that entrepreneurial, passion. So he's always encouraged me, even right from campus. And so we started out of campus. I started with consulting, but I've always seen that we're doing stock market. We've always seen that market, it was going to bust. That was around 2008, 2009. So we exited, we diversified into real estate. And real estate, we're doing site and services, so it was just lands. But after some time, we also discovered that it's important we start building, because the challenge with site and service land is that it's a never ending trajectory. So you keep servicing it, and the challenges keep cropping up. But the beauty of housing construction, which forms about 90% of our operation now, is that once you've done your construction, you hand over to people. People take hold of their properties, and we give them support. Maybe 3 months, 4 months, we give them after sales support. After the after sales support and the documents have been transferred, the transaction is ended. So you can set a timeline to it. It gives better definition than when you are saying you are doing lands, you are just selling lands, and then people you've sold, like some of the lands we've sold about 10 years ago now, in some of the places, people are not taking possession. We keep weeding it every year. We keep grading it every year. Land grabbers are attacking them. We keep spending money to fend off land grabbers. So it's a whole lot of headache. So the beauty of it is just that I would say it's been there. That entrepreneurial passion has been there, and the willingness to create something out of nothing, it has always been there.
The last time I had a chat with you, we were talking about the outlook for
2024, yeah.
And I'm wondering if you still feel the same way you felt.
Okay.
Last time.
Yeah. So
well, you are kind of optimistic.
Optimistic, yes. And honestly, I'm not optimistic. We're not going to be having this conversation. We're not going to invite city people to come over to say, okay, let's have a chat and know where we are as it is. I still believe so much in Nigeria. And one of those people who believe so much in Nigeria. And the only thing we just need to get right is leadership. And I'm going to say it, a lot of people may not support my view. The reforms initiated by our president, Bola Tinubu, they've been spot on. Anybody, in fact, most of his we like call them contestants, the other contestants, in the other parties, they advocated the same thing, like the issue of subsidy removal, the issue of floating the naira. Some of these things were advocated. The only challenge I've seen is that the fact that they were done too closely to themselves, and the fact that the lawmakers and the people in power have not really been able to reduce the profligacy in spending. Those are just the few things. But in every sense of what they've done, they are on the right track. In another couple of months, by the time Nigeria stop importing petrol, they are working now to get a refinery working. I think I heard that by June now, or by June or July, Port Harcourt should start dispensing petrol. Dangote petrol should also come on stream. The demand on dollar should reduce, and naira should stabilize. And don't forget, you see, a nation cannot develop without the effort of its people. It's not just the government alone.
some people are sabotaging this country. Because I've asked questions. You see dollars going from 1,001 to 1,005. What just within, like it happened in March or thereabouts. The question I asked is this: what was the economic activity that increased that warranted such demand for dollar? And you see, when the CBN started intervening, it came down to 1,000. So you just see that a lot of speculative activities are going on. There are some drastic steps that could have been taken to stem speculation. But you see, if such is taken, people will call for the president's head. So that's why they are still managing it the way it is. We don't have any business even dealing in dollar within the country if we don't need it for import. If you don't need dollar for import, you don't need dollar for. You don't have any business doing business in dollar. Some people take rent in dollar now in Nigeria now. They take rent in dollar, so you have to source for dollar to pay such rent. Some people sell properties in dollar, but we try as much as possible at Denaro properties to contribute to the value, boosting the value of the naira. We still do our transactions in naira, and so I believe in Nigeria. I believe Nigeria is not so bad like a lot of people think, but you need to travel around to really understand. Like Ghana, for example, the purchasing power in Ghana is, even though things have gone up in Nigeria, it's still not like Nigeria. A liter of petrol in Ghana now is an equivalent of about 1,500 naira. So you discover that the purchasing power is still not the same. So I'm still very optimistic that we just need to be patient. We will get it right. Especially if we stay course. And the people that are in power can be more sincere in their approach. They are not bringing up projects to loot public funds. They are bringing up projects to do real projects that can touch people's lives and touch the economy and impact the economy. So there's still much faith in Nigeria that we can get it right. I still believe the economy will get better.
Let's talk about the real estate
sector. Yeah, this year I've been saying it, and I think like I said last year, we've not witnessed what we witnessed. But getting to this year, I'm shocked again to say that in the real estate sector, what we've witnessed this year, we've never witnessed it. Yeah, because the price instability that was seen in 2024, we've never witnessed it. Now, when we started the year, cement was about 4,009. All of a sudden, the price of cement almost doubled. And then it started stabilizing to 7,200. Iron, when we started, we bought some iron for about 500,000. We bought later, within after 3 months, we bought some tons of iron for 1.5 million naira. So that's like times 3. So if you have done your projection, those projections became useless. So as a developer, as a real estate practitioner, you now have to start thinking of ways to make sure that you deliver and still be able to deliver value. So constant reviews, was another of the day. Watching the projects, the type of project to take up was the other of the day. Doing bulk purchase ahead of time was the order of the day, so that you can still manage your budget because you bought some things down, and it's been a very challenging year. That's just what caps it up. But we trust God that it will get better. And we are still building. We are still in the market. We're still building. We're still doing projects. And we'll not give up.
There are those who also say that for now, to say with all the certainty that the real estate sector actually was about the only stable business company. But then, with all these changes, flip flop, and all of that, both at the state level and at the national level, that it appears a lot of people are scared of doing that sector.
Yes, it plays in 2 ways. For people who are doing site and service schemes, who are buying land to sell land, companies that are very active doing site and service schemes, the distortions may not really affect them because most of the transactions they've done were in naira. So all they can do is just to keep reviewing to mark up with other things. So, but for companies that are building, that are doing housing construction, importing building materials, buying building materials, doing a lot, it's very scary. In fact, some of our contractors, vendors, part of why they are so happy and confident with Denaro today is that despite all the challenges, they notice that we never stop working. On our site, we didn't stop working. In fact, some of them told us a lot of developers are had to close and just shut down. And we didn't stop working because we are always projecting ahead of time. Like I said, a lot of material before we start a project, we'll have done contracts with suppliers, with reliable tested suppliers who say, we're giving you the bulk of your funds. Can you go ahead and get this down? And even if at the end of the day we're going to now, maybe there's a discussion we need to increase the price, it will now be very minimal. So basically, for people who are just coming in, it's going to be very risky. It's going to be, for people who are just coming in, it may be a bit risky. But for people playing site and service, selling just land is not so risky. For people doing building, they need to re-strategize. They need to put clauses in their agreements that gives room for inflationary issue. Those are some of the mistakes we have made, and we just have the opinion that once we started something, we deliver. We never really reviewed contract with any of our customers. So some of the houses we deliver within the past 1 or 2 years, some of them is just probably at cost. But our belief is that we're still in business. If we don't make that money, we'll make it another time. And then we also grow wiser. Our contracts are better adapted, So basically, that's just it.
If you have to advise government, state, and national level, in terms of policies that can be put in place that would help real estate, what are the major key points that you highlight?
If Nigeria is going to grow, if Nigeria is going to experience rapid development, there are some sectors that the government needs to invest in and needs to create enabling environment for Nigeria to grow. Real estate is one of them, especially the housing market, the construction market, the commercial real estate markets, public real estate. Because the lifespan of a project, recently we were doing an audit of stars of Denaro. An average project that Denaro does, the life cycle of a site, we discovered that we have an average of 150 workers working on that site from inception to conclusion. So they may come and go in batches, but you see that project has impacted their lives. And you see there are some of them that are with the project from the start to the finish. For example, the plumbing contractors, the electricity contractors. So their families, they are feeding their families from those things. So you discover that real estate is one sector that can employ the youth, grants employment opportunity to youth and reduce the unemployment. And once unemployment is reduced in any country, you discover that the country is much more stable. So the government should create a more enabling environment for the real estate sector, to thrive. And we will see it impacting the country in general. The other sector is let's see what we are seeing in the entertainment sector now. Even though without the government support, you discover that those guys, content creators, they're coming up, taking advantage of the internet, generating income. But you discover that the number of people they can employ per time is not as huge as what an average real estate company can deploy on a construction site. So the government needs to pay attention to some of these critical sectors, and real estate I think, should be number one.
So you're actually saying that the government, if well put together, the government can actually turn around the economy using real estate.
Yes, the government can focus on a few in fact, pick few industries, and they will turn this, and not even petroleum. The challenge is that we are so focused on petroleum sector and gas and what have you, but the prices are not stable. But there are some sectors that countries are being built on. There are examples of countries that I can point to that have built wealth based on real estate. Dubai is one of them. The UAE is one of them, rather, which Dubai is the capital. The US is one of them. So these economies don't joke with the real estate sector. You discover that from the mortgage. You look at the number of mortgage companies in the US and how many people they're employing. In fact, the companies that are doing construction, the companies that are doing fittings, the companies that are training institute, doing trade tests, conducting trade tests, doing certifications. For you to be a broker in the US now, you have to sit for certifications. So you can imagine the contribution to the GDP of the US, that the real estate is bringing. So the same thing can be applicable to Nigeria. If we're really serious, and real estate is not just about us housing. When we talk about real estate, we're talking about hospitality. We're talking about public utilities like people building parks. We don't even have that in Nigeria yet. In the US, you have Walt Disney. In Orlando, I was in Orlando about a year ago. I think Orlando, the people who come to Orlando every year, they are running to millions. So you can imagine just one small town, taking millions of people in every year. So you discover that the lifespan, the economy lifespan of that town can never go down. But what is it that is really bringing them? They call it tourism, but it's real estate because they are building all those things. They are bringing people there. So you have a lot of things that can be done, and so we can really benefit by the government supporting the real estate sector and ensuring that the sector thrives.
I don't know if you take a look at the renewed book for housing.
Okay.
If you don't, how do you see the policy and how do you think the policy will help housing and real estate?
Well, they said they wanted to do some housing units in some local government. It's always been like that. Every government that comes, they always be like that. During I think it was Jonathan, they wanted to do in all the 774 local government of Nigeria. They wanted to do social housing, but you see, the day the federal government realized that these things are better done in the hand of the private sector, the better. So just give all the incentives, give all the support. Let there be good access to finance, mortgage. Some of the funds that have been stolen, give them out to home buyers at cheap, in single digits, maybe 6%, 7%. For you to access any bank now, to say you want to take any form of loan, they're going to be asking for between 28 and 32%. So we wanted to buy some vehicles for the company. Now we're talking to our bank and we've been doing business for them for years. They told us they are ready, the funds are there, but they wanted to take 35%. So I asked them, so if we take funds to buy vehicles and we're paying you 35%, so in another 1 or 2 years, then we've paid double of what we're taking. So no country can develop that way. In fact, what you will see is stunted growth. So just for the federal government to tackle mortgage alone and say, okay, we are providing cheap funds for developers, and home buyers, you discover that alone will do a lot, rather than saying they want to do the construction themselves and what have you. So I think they should be thinking towards that, providing incentives, rather than saying they want to be actively involved. I know there is the Federal Ministry of Housing, and then if you don't carry project for them, sometimes they feel that they are really not doing anything. Yes, they can do, but the bulk of the support should still go to the private sector. They are the drivers of the economy. They are the ones who have the ideas that can move the country forward.
So what's also let's talk about housing deficits that industry is faced with.
Well, so my own recommendation as a player from Lagos, number one, is the federal government should, as a matter of urgency, create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive in other states within the federation. This is one point that, in fact, most of the speakers on this topic have not been able to tackle. Why? Because everybody, if you discuss housing in Lagos, in Nigeria today now, Lagos and Abuja will be at the top of it. Then every other state will come next. So why are we choked? And you see the number of people coming to Lagos. Then Lagos really defines the housing deficit. By the time you go to the underbridge, you saw the video recently on the island close to Osborne that the Ministry of Environment was demolishing some shanties. People are squatting under the bridge. So Lagos is a perfect example that showcases that housing deficit. And what causes it is this uncontrolled rural to urban migration. And it's because the opportunities in those interlands, in those states within the country, they are limited. And so, because people are really not doing much, they get, maybe a cousin is in Lagos, it brings like 3 or 4 from other states, and then they come to Lagos, and then they are flooding Lagos. But go to countries that are getting it right. If you go to the US, you go to Dallas, for example, the same infrastructure in Dallas. If you leave Dallas, you go to New York. In fact, it may be better than New York, which is the capital. If you go to maybe Arkansas or you go to anywhere you go, it's the same infrastructure. So that's that drive to say they want to leave a place for another place, So that's the starting point. Let all the states develop. Let's create employment opportunities, electricity, all the social amenities that are needed for each state to thrive. Let's give it to them. For my state now, Ekiti State, there are some local government in Ekiti State that have not seen electricity in about maybe 3-4 months. If they bring electricity, they will just flash it one day and they will take it. So how does somebody who has gone to school, an educated person, thrive in such a community? It will be difficult. So we need to go back to the basics. Let's make everywhere, livable first. And then we'll now start looking at, okay, let's now work on mortgage, cheaper mortgage. Let's look at building materials. What can the federal government do? Some of the cement producers now just sit together. We have few of them. Just sit together part time. They look at their costs. They say it's their cost anyway, their overheads. And so they just jack up price. So can we have regulated prices? Can the federal government work with them that, okay, within the next 3 years, you guys are not going to go within this band. Peradventure, you overshoot your cost. We'll subsidize you with this. Every country that is really thriving, doing things, making moves, some of their governments are subsidizing some of those sectors. The United Arab Emirates. Emirates is doing the Emirates airline. They are doing good today because they have the government support, and it's like that for a lot. Look at the United States again during COVID. In fact, a friend of mine got funds to run his business during COVID as palliatives. Now they're asking them to pay back some of those funds, and they're also laid back about it. I'm not sure. I don't know how many Nigerian companies got loans or funds to support their businesses. So basically, we just need to go to the basic things, and the government still has a long way to go. Yeah.